Hey guys, today I would like to try something a little different, shake up the formula a little bit, and record this in more of like a more handheld style with my only means of recording, which is my mobile phone. And I will also try to down pitch my voice a little bit in order to improve the audio. So yeah, let's hope for the best. So what happened? Rogue One is out in theaters, and we saw it last night, very late last night actually. However, the more interesting part of that story is actually what happened the evening before that. Because I visited my good friend Felix, and beforehand I had also seen some reviews of it on YouTube, watched a lot of critics and read about it. Luckily, without being exposed to any spoilers. So yeah, I had a pretty decent understanding of how the movie was received. I had, I think, four reviews stood out to me. Two were really positive. One was kind of mixed actually, and one was really negative. So we talked a bit about that, discussed that a bit, and then there was this other point that I had read beforehand, that the producers of this movie said, no matter how well this movie would perform, you will never get a sequel to that. There won't be a sequel, that's guaranteed. And that was interesting. Because of course it is sort of a precursor to episode 4 of the established franchise. So if you don't know, the story is that it's basically the story of how the rebels got hold of the Death Star plans in order to figure out its weak spot. That's all. And yeah, so it kind of makes sense that there won't be a sequel, because the sequel is Episode 4, A New Hope, the original Star Wars movie. However, they bring an array of completely fresh characters to this, and what they were basically saying was that like you probably will never see one of those characters again. And this got me thinking, because on one hand, this gave them a lot of freedom and possibilities. I mean, they could kill off whoever they wanted, really, because those were all new characters, and none of those were important to the overall canon of the Star Wars universe. You wouldn't need them in later installments. However, then we started to talk about an interesting point, because the lead is played by Felicity Jones. I really like Felicity Jones. I think she's really great, and she seemed to be an interesting character from judging from the trailers. So I think I remember this one scene where in the trailers where Mon Mothma calls her out on being kind of, I don't know, hard to work with because she's insubordinate and stuff like that. And she answers with this line. It's like, well, this is a rebellion, right? That's what I do. I rebel. And that was really, really good line, I thought. And it is established really a character with a lot of attitude. And I liked that. I wasn't sure if she could pull this off. But I was very interested in that aspect. Sort of getting sort of like a female Han Solo type character. Doesn't play that well with others, plays by her own rules, stuff like that. Yeah, and I was really looking forward to that. So what I then said to Felix was like, well, it's kind of a shitty deal for Felicity Jones, right? Because I mean, it's amazing that she actually leads a Star Wars movie, but all the other Star Wars leads, they got trilogies, so and multiple movie deals, so she will never come back. And then I was like, I mean, even if her character should return in episode 8 or 9 that are yet to come, they would obviously need to recast her with a much older actress who could then play the older version of her. And the more I thought about that, I was like, that would actually be really awesome. I would so love to see Daisy Ridley, who is more of the Luke type character, together with Felicity Jones in the later movies, who is more like the female Han Solo character. And Felix was like, really, really snarky and sarcastic about it. He was like, yeah, but they can't do that. I mean, what are they gonna do? Freeze her? And it was this completely throwaway line. I think, and we both had the same thought at the moment. So it's like, yeah, right. As if cryogenics in the Star Wars universe is something that has never come up with. And this was 1 second, and then the next second I realized it was like, and I was saying to him like, wait, freezing? You mean like in carbonite? And he gave me that look, and it was like, they paused for a second, and then we looked at each other, and he was like, you know what you just did? You just ruined this movie for us. Because now, if they don't do that, I am very disappointed, because now I want to see that. I want to see them make that happen, so that Rey and Felicity Jones' character Jyn Erso can star in the same movie together, episode 8 or 9. And it was really awesome. I mean, it was the most fan servicey and most fan fiction thing you could imagine. But it had a kind of awesomeness to it. And the one thing I can actually spoil you for the movie Rogue One is they don't do that. They actually don't. It's probably for the better that they don't, but that would have been really, really awesome. So much about that. Now, for the actual movie Rogue One, it's a pretty good movie. It's not a masterpiece. It's not that great. The characters are really poor and kind of boring. There's really not that much to them, and that was really disappointing. And I mean, I quoted that great scene from the trailer with her really, really showing off that attitude. She doesn't have that. Almost none of that. She's actually kind of boring. And however, the movie's not great on characters or plot. It's pretty standard. However, the visuals, to some extent, some of the effects they used, a lot of practical stuff, a lot of the way they make ships look in space, it's really, really reminiscent of the old 3 Star Wars movies. And you really get that feeling. They absolutely nailed the tone and the visuals for some parts of the movie. I think probably 20 to 30 minutes into the movie, there's like a solid 20 minutes that are absolute throwback, perfectly toned old Star Wars. And then there's a pretty big space battle in the end that also is really, really good. Old-fashioned Star Wars in the best possible way. So I think it's absolutely worth seeing for those 2 phases of the movie alone. Yeah. Hope you enjoyed this.